republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the machines are open for roll call.
Well, look back. The lucky one.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. We'll move on to item number 4. Approval of the minutes from the July 25th, 2019 regular meeting. I have a motion by Barry Huggins, seconded by Phil Porto, to approve those minutes. Is there any questions? Seeing none, the machine is open to vote for approval. Motion passes. Item number 5, considering amendments to the agenda, we have a resolution authorizing the parish president to sign the ACTA Creedal Drainage Servitude Agreement with Harry L. Laws and Company, Inc. This will have to be a unanimous vote to amend the agenda. We have a motion by Kirk Elaine, seconded by Chris Kershaw, to put it to the vote. It has to be unanimous, and the machine is open to vote to amend the agenda. Motion passed, and the agenda has been amended. Item number 6, Parish President's Report. Mr. Bertolotti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members. Congratulations to Kurt. The rest of us still got work to do. Well, not all of us, some of you. Won't have to do too much. But just kind of, recap a few things we did over the week. We had a piece of property that was, in trying to get property owners on Urban Street in Urbanville to get cleaned up. And we've been having some issues with it, but we're also in the process of trying to run a forced main from our lift station in Airline Park. And so what we did is we came to agreement to where we would go and do the cleanup in lieu of a servitude agreement that they gave us a servitude to cross it in. And so that was completed today on Urban Street. So we're going to move forward about getting that. Try to get that sewer line across. That way we can decommission the sewer pond that's from Airline Parks, and also go in there and clean those ditches up that, has been a burden to us for quite some time. So that's done. The water well it's just about completing stuff, and we have to do some get the water lines over to tie it in. But the contractor on the water line project from North Line Road to Forest Brewley, on phase 1 we call it, they have already started laying pipe, and that project is in the works. They should be starting to put pipe in the ground next week. And I just want to tell you, I was really impressed. I went to the Port Allen High School, and they had a little indoctrination before the teachers go back to school, and it was in the theater at Port Allen High School, and you walk in that thing, it's absolutely beautiful. It's a well-built building. It's something like you don't see in West Baton Rouge Parish, and so if you get a chance to go look at that, I went with Jason and their group. It's awfully impressive, and it's something that we've been lacking in the parish for quite some time. We did go to court yesterday on the levee trail to the Court of Appeals. I'm going to get Lou come up and kind of tell you where we are on that. There was some good and bad in it, but I'm going to let him tell you. You want to do that, Lou?
Sure. Good afternoon, Council. Yesterday morning, we were at First Circuit Court of Appeals in Baton Rouge, the levee trail case. That was appealed by the defendants, 2 yeas and the Benedettos. And their main argument was arguing the constitutionality of state statute that allows the levee boards to expand the servitude to include a levee trail. And that's the thrust of the argument. And it's hard to tell when all you have is the questions the judges asked at the hearing, which way they might go. Sometimes they ask questions, you think the questions tend to be in your favor, but they vote against you. So it's hard to tell. We don't know, but best guess, it might be 2-1 in our favor, we're hoping. And if it's not, we can ask for a rehearing in front of the Court of Appeal or appeal directly to the Supreme Court if we decide to appeal. And I guess that would be, administration and the council decision I assume we would appeal since we spent the money on the levee trail. But we won't know a result probably from 6 weeks to 3 months. I think outside it's 3 months would probably be the longest we should get a notice that of their decision. And I'm electronically registered with this Court of Appeals, so when they make the decision, they email me immediately, so I'll know immediately when they make a decision. And I'll let Pee Wee and Michelle know so she can let everybody else know.
How long do they normally take for consideration to
And
make it?
6 weeks to 3 months is our best guess. You know, it's hard to say. You know, a lot of them are on summer recess right now, so I was kind of surprised we even had a hearing in August, because usually they take off June, July, and August.
Now, were you taking care of that case, or was Tony Clayton taking?
Tony came in after we had the initial hearing.
So
and we've
did
been
Tony argue the case?
Tony argued it yesterday, yes, yes.
All right.
As well as the Attorney General's,
Yes,
they represent Attorney there too.
when somebody challenges the constitutionality of a statute, that party has to notify the Attorney General, and the Attorney General is made a party, and they also submitted a brief and were arguing in favor of the constitutionality. The legal presumption is that it is constitutional when the legislature passes it, until the court say otherwise, and the Attorney General stands and protects that position of constitutionality until the court rules otherwise. So they were there on our side yesterday. It was just one attorney from the Attorney General's office, but they did file a brief in favor of the constitutionality
Okay,
and argued in favor of it.
good deal.
Okay, thank y'all.
Any questions to Pee Wee on anything? Pee Wee, that's pretty much ends his report. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item number 7, public comments. Anyone from the public want to be heard at this time? Anyone from the public? Seeing none, we're going to move on to item number 8, communication with council members or elected or appointed officials. We got Mr. Barry Huggins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to tell everybody that the Capital Area Groundwater Conservation Commission has started the process of developing a 50-year management plan for the Southern Hills Aquifer. We've had our first set of workshops. We will have another set of workshops late August, like the 23rd, 24th, and then the final set of workshops will be on the September 21st, 22nd, something like that. If anybody's interested, I'll be glad to get the exact dates and times for you. This is something that I initiated with the Water Institute when I was chairman of the commission, because there's so much controversy over the use of the water and how much should industry be allowed to use, how much should be reserved for residential, and I just felt like that the best way to build consensus was to bring in a third party and to try to reduce it down to the data about exactly how much water was available so we would know what we need to do. And we've begun that process. It's an expensive process. It's open to the public. And I would encourage everyone to come and put your 2 cents worth in, because the more input we get, the better product we'll have on the back end. And, you know, me personally, I think that industry needs to phase out of their use of groundwater, perhaps not permanently or totally, but I think they need to phase down. And over the years, industry has gone more and more to river water, but I think that they need to continue that and to increase that. And you know, I have some ideas for how we might be able to do that for industry here in West Baton Rouge, and you know, I'll share those at an appropriate time, but haven't even talked to Pee Wee about it. But we want to keep growing, but we have to protect our resources for our people. So, and on another note, congratulations to Kirk and to Carrie and to the rest of us. I'll say that Walmart sells shoes. And as a good friend of mine told me one time, if you don't wear out 2 or 3 pair during the course of this election, you're not doing all you can to get elected or reelected. And, you know, I'm really humbled at the number of phone calls I've gotten the last couple of days. People have come out of the woodwork in my area telling me, you know, we just want you to know that we're with you. We think you've done a good job. You know, you always hear from people when they're unhappy. Nobody ever says when they're happy and you've done a good job. It just really makes you feel good. Like I say, it makes you feel humbled. So, you know, I've had people say, well, you know, sorry you have to have somebody to run. You gotta get out and campaign. Well, I'm really not sorry about that. I'm kind of glad. I like campaigning. You know, maybe that makes me crazy. I mean, you know, Fish tells me I'm crazy all the time. But it gives you a chance to get through your district and talk to people that are everyday people that don't take the time to tell you what their concerns are, because they're just trying to live their life too. I think it's healthy. I think that's our system. That's the lifeblood of our democracy and our way of life. I embrace it, and I'm looking forward to it. And the only regret that I have is we're all going to spend a bunch of money on signs and push cards and all this stuff, and just think how much good we could do if we didn't have to do that and we could just donate that money to a worthy cause. Like Family Day in the Park, huh? So, thank y'all.
Any other, Mr. Kershaw?
I'm trying to hit my button. Barry, I wanted to ask you a question on the Groundwater Commission. The usage you talked about. Do you have a percentage that residents use versus industrial?
I do.
Okay.
Historically, industrial use has been about 47, 48%. Residential use, and this is, I'm not going to say residential. I'm going to say public supply has been about 52%. Now, that may sound rather nuanced. Maybe I've been up here too long and I've become a politician, but here's the thing. Public supply supplies everybody. It supplies houses, like in Baton Rouge, LSU, restaurants, hospitals, Benny's Car Wash. And I'm not picking on Benny, he's a great guy. But that's public supply. And it's very difficult to break out of that 52% how much actually goes to a residence and what goes to some commercial activity. But, you know, you've got to have schools and you've got to have hospitals. So, you know, those are things that we would want to reserve the water for anyway. But it's about, historically, it's been about 52-48. Now, as most of you, I'm sure, know, Georgia Pacific has shut down a very great portion of their paper mill. So Georgia Pacific was, up until the first quarter of this year, the largest groundwater user in the Commission District, which is the Southern Hills Aquifer. And they have dropped by about 25 million gallons a day in their use. So that's going to help us as far as that increases the recharge rate, that increases the amount of water that makes it down here. The problem is going to be what happens if the Koch brothers decide to sell that plant and somebody else comes in and wants to restart the digester. Then we're going to have a serious decision to have to make about whether or not we're going to allow those wells to be pumped, or whether we're going to say, we want you here, we want the jobs, but you're going to have to go to the river. So, you know, these are not easy issues, and that's why I wanted a third-party set of eyes. The Water Institute is one of the two most preeminent study groups for water resource issues in the world, the other being Deltaris in the Netherlands. And I wanted a third-party set of eyes to take an independent look at this so that we could take their study, we could take all the data that's been generated at LSU, all the data that USGS has generated. We could take that and then we could go to all the users and try to build consensus over what we're going to do. Because, you know, as Thomas Jefferson said in the Declaration of Independence, governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed. And we're not really going to get anywhere except the courthouse by taking the big stick approach and just dictating top down to these people, you're going to have to do whatever. Now, if it comes to that and it's necessary, we'll do that. But, you know, I feel like we're dealing with reasonable people, and we want the data because we want to know the truth, and then we want to operate from that platform. And then I feel like we'll be able to build consensus and move on, and we'll be able to preserve these resources indefinitely, which is our goal.
Well, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were, and certainly I didn't realize that in industry it's roughly 50%.
Yes.
So,
Big
appreciate it, thank you.
Big. And let me say this, Fish. Here's the balancing act. You know, we talk about traffic problem. Walk out there and cut them off from their water resources right now today, we won't have a traffic problem because we won't have anybody in Baton Rouge. We won't have an economy either. We can't do that. But we have to have a long-term plan to figure this is where we are, this is where we have to be, this is how we're going to get there, and we got to get everybody on board. And that's what we're working toward. We're trying real hard to avoid, I'm going to say it that way, to avoid anything devolving into tribalism where we got this group over here and this group over here and they're all fighting each other, and no matter what Group A says, Group B is going to be against it because it was Group A's idea. And we're trying real hard not to ever devolve into that. So that's where we're at.
All right, any other council members? Pee Wee, do we need to go ahead and call for a special meeting for that interim fire chief on the 22nd?
Yes.
Okay. So at some point, we're gonna go ahead and we'll do that. Seeing no others, we're gonna move on to item number 9, public hearing on previously introduced ordinances. A, an ordinance amending Chapter 104 zoning to incorporate amending zoning designation map under Section 104-3, establishment of districts, official zoning map rezoning request of Sharita Grover and Cade's Auto Sales, file 2019, located at 9450 Bush Road, Irwinville, Louisiana. Tract J containing 3.49 acres. Yatan Plantation, located Section 61, West Baton Rouge Parish, rezoning from agriculture to C1.2 moderate commercial, master plan change. Mr. Kevin Durkin.
Mr. Chairman, good evening. I'm sorry I missed you guys at the last meeting. It's good to be back. This item came before the Planning and Zoning Commission on Tuesday. It was recommended for denial. That recommendation did receive the approval of 8 of the commission members. And before we open it up to a public hearing, hopefully you do have in your packet a statement from Susie and Steve Dozat in opposition to the request. They wanted that statement entered into the record. They couldn't be here this evening. We told them we would help them with that. I can either read it for you, you can just consider it entered into the record. Whatever you want on that.
Yeah, I see we have it in our packet. If you want to read it or whatever.
It's pretty brief. It says, my husband Steve Dozat and I, Susan Dozat, live at 8956 Bush Road. We have 73.8 acres. It is L-shaped. And one of our entrances is 2 properties to the east from the one to be rezoned. We are definitely against the rezoning. The only thing separating our property from the property in question is a barbed wire fence between our pasture and her backyard. We are unable to attend the meeting Thursday because our 10-year-old grandson is having open heart surgery in Houston that day. If you have any questions, please call Steve Dozat at I won't read their phone numbers into the record, but it's all there.
All right. Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Anyone from the public want to be heard? Anyone from the public would like to be heard, just come to the microphone, state your name for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Mark Melissa, and I live at 9963 Bush. And we've been, country forever, and we want to try to keep it that way. So we don't want it, nothing turning commercial, because it can turn around, once somebody does that, next year it could be something different. Person down the road sees that go down, and they decide they want to go commercial for whatever reason, and can't hardly, if you give it to one, you can't take it from the other one. And therefore, we just kind of like it quiet, and myself, I don't care for it. I think it's a bad idea.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Still on the public hearing. Let me ask a question before you start. You come to the mic, but just so that, can anybody give me a show of hands of the people that are gonna come speak in favor of this? Do I have a show of hands of people who's gonna speak in favor? Do I have a show of hands of who's gonna speak against this project? All right. Okay, go ahead. State your name for the record.
Robert Guidros. You still want me to talk?
Now, I'm just trying to make it easy for everybody.
I mean, I agree with you. It's the same thing. I don't care. I mean, she wants to sell some cars, put them on the lot, whatever. But to be commercialized, what happens next? I mean, her property backs up right next to mine and right next to Steve's. And so we like it quiet. And it was like the last meeting we had. The lady said, "You the guy with the horses?" I'm like, "Yes." And she was like, "I like your horses." I said, "Well, I mean, it is what it is, because it's the country." And so that's all I gotta say.
All right, Rob.
All right.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any others? Just come for the microphone, state your name for the record.
Joey Cook, and I want to tell y'all good afternoon. I live in 9021 Bush Road, right after I graduated high school, about 1983. Well, I got married and moved away, but I'm back in the house when my father passed away. And it's a nice place, it's country, and we don't really, if you let one little small bit, next thing you know, you'll have a Walmart, then a bar room, and it's country. Everybody moved out there to actually get away from that type stuff. And it's a nice community, and somebody chuckled the other day when I brought it up, but there are children that actually ride bikes up and down the road. It's not a lot of traffic, and we like to kind of keep it country if possible. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any others? Seeing no others, I'm gonna, yep, come on up. I hope you have something new to say. I think we got a good message.
Basically the same thing. I mean, you know me. I also own another house besides ours. And it's just, like Joyce said the other day at the zoning meeting, we're our own little community out there. And, you know what I'm saying, and we all get along. We don't bother each other, but if somebody needs something, we're all there. And that's just what we want. I don't want 10 years down the road, the lady passes away, Lord help me, I hope not, but, and then it gets sold and they put a trailer park in. That's what our biggest concerns are, is what's gonna come after her. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Come on up to the mic. State your name for the record. And make sure y'all smile, because everything's on camera now.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Collins, and I live at 10770 Bush Road, all the way to the end by the levee. I've been out there for 37 years. I was raised in Baton Rouge. Nobody can ever pay me enough money to move back to Baton Rouge, and we don't want our town our street to turn into Baton Rouge. We want to leave it as a quiet country community, as a family like it should be. That's why we all live out there. And we all love it. And we want to see our grandkids raise their kids out there in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. All right. Any others?
First thing I want to know is
State your name for the record, Mr. Barbier.
August Barbe. You know my name.
I gotta have it for the record.
What I want to know is where's all the rest of the people that's supposed to getting paid supposed to be here?
All the other people who?
That's not here.
I know Mr. Ricky Loop, the council member there, he's out of state right now. And Miss Naomi Fair is down in Addis somewhere, or either, I'm not sure.
What they getting paid for, to be here or to be in Addis?
I can't answer that question. They're elected by the people.
That's beside the point. I live 3 houses over from where this is supposed to be happening. You know where I live.
I know exactly.
All right. I just moved from Baton Rouge, just like the lady before me, to be in the country. They have peace, which I have now. And I don't want to see it turn commercial, because once it's commercial, it's always commercial. I don't care what, they can build into the stores if they want to. So I would like to have it stay as it is. That's all I got to say.
Point well taken. Any other comments? Any other comments? Seeing no other comments, I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm going to open it up to the parish council. I will start off first and let you know that this happens to be in my area, down the street from me, myself. We had some of the same issues that came up a few years back, y'all would know, and that we basically done, we would not change zoning. We let it go into a home occupation where we had some say-so on exactly what could be done, what could be done. So we have a recommendation from the planning and zoning for denial.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can read that reason real quick, because the code requires us to give a
Go
reason.
ahead.
The reason for the denial, and it's in a copy of your minutes, reason for the denial recommendation, that is, it does not fit into the master plan or the existing residential layout of the Bush Road area.
That's exactly correct, and it's more or less spot zoning whenever we start doing this, picking out one little spot and making a spot zone. So, yeah.
I'll make a motion to deny, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Huggins makes a motion to deny with the recommendation that came back from the planning and zoning, seconded by Mr. Kirk Lane. Is there any questions? Mr. Kershaw.
What exactly is this person trying to put in the C1.2? What kind of business?
All I know, they never contacted me, but I'm here that she wants to open up a used car lot in front of her trailer to where she could sell vehicles. And I read the minutes of the meeting, and they said something about she had stated that so she could get some extra money to go on vacations and stuff like that. But
Okay.
everything else in that area
So
is
everything else is zone ag?
agriculture or residential.
Okay, that's all I need to hear.
All right? Any other questions, Mr. Porto?
Just real quickly to kind of settle some of your minds, you know, someone said that if this property was zoned commercial and then that person would pass away, then someone could come in and put a mobile home park there. That's not true. It has to be zoned for a mobile home park. So presently, and to give you all just a present state of mind, you know, if you zone residential or agriculture, only residential or agricultural type businesses or things could go there. If anybody wants to put anything commercial, industrial, it has to go through this process. The process go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, win approval, and then come to the Parish Council and win approval. So if that could just rest your mind. Nobody can pull up out there and one day build something to the sky, I think, like this gentleman said, and that really can't happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porto. Any other comments? Any other comments? We got a motion on the floor to deny, and it's been seconded. The machine is open to vote for denial.
We vote, okay.
Motion passes. Thank y'all coming out tonight. Item number 9B, an ordinance amending chapter 104 zoning to incorporate amended zoning destination map under section 104-3, establishment of districts, official zoning map for rezoning request of Troy Blair and Loretta Blanchard, file 2019, located at 3439 Cons Road, Port Allen, Louisiana. The portion of a lot 4 fronting Cons Road to the railroad track in section 114, containing 7.745 acres, rezoning from agriculture to RSF3 residential single family. Mr. Kevin Durbin.
Mr. Chairman, this item came before the Planning and Zoning Commission on Tuesday evening. It was recommended for approval, and the vote was unanimous in favor of the recommendation.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone from the public want to be heard on this item? Just come to the mic and state your name for the record.
My name is Troy Blair. I'm one of the ones who's going to try to purchase some of the property. It butts up to the back of my property, goes to the railroad tracks, and that's deemed agriculture, which we want to keep it agriculture. And the fact that her lot from the railroad track to Cons Road is going to be less than 4 acres, is going to be right at 3/4 of an acre. It's kind of required to be residential. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public? Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, open it up to the parish council. This is Phil Porto's district.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is my district. What Mr. Blair stated is exactly what it is. He bought a piece of property behind your father-in-law? Yes. That runs from SP Road to the towards the railroad track. Ms. Blanchard owns the other piece of property from Cons Road. Railroad track is a divider, and then that property joins up with the back of his property. So he's gonna purchase the entire piece, and it just leaves that little 3/4 of an acre between Cons Road and the railroad track. And because of our laws, it can't remain agriculture. That's the only reason that they're here. So we have to make it residential, single family 3. So perfect
All right,
situation.
thank you very much, Mr. Porto. Any other questions? So we have a motion on the floor and seconded by Mr. Barry Huggins to approve the rezoning from agriculture to residential, single family for the spot that's gonna be left with the resident owner. Machine is open to vote for approval. Motion passes. Item number 10, consider status report, change orders, or other matters as required on current projects. Mr. Manola.
Just a couple, Mr. Chairman, a couple quick things I just want to give you an update on. There will be bid documents going out for the sealing of joints and replacement joints for like Southwest Port, Commercial, Office Park, and Largale Lane. That's something that y'all had approved in the budget, but that you'll be seeing in the documents as part of the overlay program. We have the concrete section versus the asphalt. You'll be seeing that either next week or the week after, being advertised. And of course, we come back to you with the bid recommendation once we get that. And then the last thing is just the Council on Aging, their building addition that they talked about. They actually have, the architect has the plans. He's finalizing the plans and specs, and that should also be advertised in the next week or two. And then we'll help them out reviewing bids and things like that once they're received at that time. So unless anybody has any questions.
Good. I have one question. I had 2 phone calls from people living down Emily Drive, calling me that just happened to be friends and asking me if I rode Emily Drive, and I told them, no, I have not been down Emily Drive. And they asked me to come ride down there, but I haven't done it yet. They're telling me that it is a terrible job that has been done. And I know that you had spoke about it the last meeting that we had. Is there anything that's going to take place with that, or is that kind of a complete project? Where are we at?
We actually had a meeting today, the parish president, myself, the contractor Barrier Construction, and also PEC, who is the engineering firm on that project. We had identified, along with PEC's inspector, areas that there were dips in the road. The contractor went back out and I guess pull the string to see the size of the dip. There's about 8 to 9 areas that there's the dip that they're going to address. They're going to actually mill about 1.5 inches off of where the current dip is, and then come back over it to where it'll help smooth the surface in those 8 to 9 areas. They are still finishing and dressing up the shoulders, and they should be starting the striping in the next couple of weeks.
Okay,
But we did identify the 8 or 9.
good, great. That keeps me from having to go ride out there. So I appreciate
All
that.
right.
I can let those couple of people that do know me that, y'all taking care of that.
Okay, thanks.
Gary.
Mr. Kershaw?
Jason, if you, before you sit down, or while you're sitting down. Okay, I want to ask a couple questions too, because just like you, Gary, I've had a couple people call me, and several of them were not really too happy, but I did ride down Emily Drive, and that's a pretty long street. I know Caleb knows it pretty good. But way in the back, where the turnaround is, that did not look very good to me. I am not a street guy, but that looked like it was done haphazard at best. Something's got to be done about that part.
Yeah, we identified, and I should have mentioned that too, Robert. We did note that, the inspector noted it also. If you ride back there now, you'll see 2 white, where they're gonna actually grind it down again and re-pour. What they think happened is it was poured, and it may have even been a cold pour at the moment, or it could have been something where somebody got on it just a little too soon before it had time to actually back. You will see what the part that they're gonna actually dig out.
Okay.
I did see that.
And the other thing I'd like to bring up, this is the same, is this the same contractor that did Sid Richardson Road? And that road is extremely nice. Now, I understand that they probably had a little less traffic on Sid Richardson Road than they have on Emily Drive. So if they've got to make a split pour, I don't know the exact terminology, but they got to pour it in halves because you got everybody living down there, and there's one way in and one way out only. So if you can only pour half the road and they gotta wait for traffic and stuff, the roller, if it sits too long, will that make an indention on the road?
It's a much, you're right, it's a much more difficult, of course, they've got to maintain one line of traffic on that street at all times, and it is more difficult, whereas if they could just go and do a 20-foot pour, that time it's a bigger piece of equipment that's doing it, which has the electronics on it to adjust the leveling as you go along. Smaller pour, small piece of equipment doesn't have the same amount of electronics that the bigger piece of equipment does, so a lot of it's just manual adjustment as you're going around. And you're right, you sit there and somebody has to come around, and you gotta stop the roller. You can imagine if you stop the roller, there's gonna be a little bit of a, and some of the things you see right now is when it, right when the road was overlaid, you see that exactly, but like a shine to the road, that wears off in about 2 to 3 months too. So it'll be more of a duller finish, and you won't see as many of the little, imperfections that you may see.
And my last question I want to bring up is that several people were extremely concerned about, they were getting notices in their mailboxes that they had to change the height of the mailbox. But I think we talked and you told me that y'all milled a certain amount and you repaved a certain amount. So there was no net change to the height of the road.
We
So-
actually met with the postmaster this week, the parish president, myself, and Philip, and explained the exact same thing, that we milled 2.5 inches and you overlaid 2.5 inches. So the actual height of the road didn't happen. I'm not gonna say it may have changed a 1/4 inch here or 1/2 inch here, just depending on the actual, not exactly 2.5 inches all the way through. There was no substantial difference in the road height that was done. And he basically told us at that time that no, he said they got a marker on the side of the vehicles, just arbitrarily decided to measure the mailboxes. So the mailboxes that are low now were low before the road was built. And he did also mention that there's several other roads within the parish that they were getting similar. Like, I think in Lindale was one of the others he mentioned, we got nothing with them.
Okay, but you're comfortable in saying, both you and Pee Wee, that the mailbox issue is not because of what the parish poured the new road,
And the
right?
parish president actually sent an email out to,
Okay.
whatever email addresses that we have, and Emily Drive residents, stating basically that exact
Okay,
same.
because I've been trying to tell these people that, but they don't want to listen, so, thank you.
You know, Fisher, if you don't mind, I'll add a little bit to that. When, some of those mailboxes were probably, they were probably too low to start with, but when the road was actually milled 2.5 inches, that post office person that delivered the mail was probably much comfortable with it down 2 inches, made the mailbox just a little bit higher, so it happened to reach down. And so they started, you know, checking all the boxes, but they, in quite a few other subdivisions, they put the same mail into the box. You know, tell you, it's gotta be from 41 to 45 inches, and so we did that. Let me tell you, out of all of the roads that we've done in the last 10 years, you know, like, of all our projects, every year we do a road overlay program. This is the only street out of all of those streets that we sent out a letter prior, because we knew it was gonna have a lot of traffic on that street. We knew we had to cut down salt cement. It wasn't gonna be just a simple overlay job. It was gonna have to be, we have to redo the base of the road. So we sent the letter out, you know, explaining that. But, you know, it's not like we can block the traffic, because there's one way in, one way out. There's almost 200 houses. There might be a few over 200 houses. And people's coming and going all day long. And they riding into the salt cement and to when we pick it up, and as soon as you can get a piece done, somebody's on it. And it was a very difficult project to do with continuing traffic and no way to, we didn't even have a little bypass we can do out. Some people did go through people's yards and maybe cut a few little ruts on it, not really in the yard, but, you know, on the shoulder of the road. But, and so it's been probably one of the toughest jobs that a contractor had to do. We looked at some of these places, and I tell you, there's one particular, I'm not even sure who lives there, but it got 3 little drains right next to the driveway on the road, and there were some complaints about some dips in the road, because what happened is that the people, when they laid the asphalt, they kind of dipped it down a little bit so they wouldn't have a drop off, you know, else we would have to cover their drains up. In a way, the dirt is in a lot that it would hold water right in between the road and his driveway. So I went back today and we looked at it, and then me and John drove over it. And I said, go back, let's go kind of like 30 miles an hour, you know, and so we go 30 miles an hour. And it's not that bad of a dip, but it's one of the things that was pointed out on the punch list. And for what we'd have to do to that individual and make him he's gonna have almost a drop off, like about a 2.5 to 3 inch drop off to get in the driveway. The bump is not that bad, and so in that particular case, we kind of took that one off of the punch list, you know, because it just didn't make sense to make it so terrible for that individual, because it wasn't that bad on the ride. There are some things, and like I said, we have a punch list, and we went over it with the engineer as well as the contractor today, and he's gonna go and adjust all things, get it fixed. We're all gonna stripe it and put reflectors on the road. We're gonna have the broken, you know, painted stripes, and then we're gonna have every 40 foot, we're gonna have a reflector in the center line of the road.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your comments. I had talked to Ricky, and then, like you said, Gary, he's out of town, out of state. And so I just wanted to bring up some of those concerns, but I think it was probably a tough job, but it's got to be better than it was. But I just want to go on record as saying that the reason that they're getting the post office notices is not because of the pour of the new road. Okay? Thank you.
That was something that was messed up before. All right, any other questions to Mr. Manola, our parish president? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to resolution. A resolution authorizing the parish president to sign the act of pre-dial drainage servitude agreement with Harry L. Laws and Company, Inc. Who wants to handle this, Kevin or Mr. Pee Wee?
I don't know if Kevin knows about this thing. This is something that's been going for a number of years, where the Bruley retention pond is. You know, that there was agreement when they developed that subdivision to the south side of West St. Francis Street. There was supposed to be a ditch and a little wider ditch that goes all the way out to the Cooley Canal. And so there was agreement that Sinclair donated a right-of-way to do that. And so we're gonna dig the ditch and we're gonna widen in the Canfield, because we maintain that ditch already, and it's just gotta be dug in. And so we couldn't do it until we got an agreement in writing with a resolution for Sinclair, because they're gonna actually bring it to their board Tuesday. And so, but it's been an ongoing project for quite a few years, and that's what this is about.
Okay.
I tried to read this when they sent it to me the other day, and for some reason, I thought I was reading and it said something about Exhibit A and Exhibit C, but I never could see an Exhibit C. I was just trying to figure out,
Lou,
I didn't send the exhibits because I don't have, the only exhibit I had was, the map. One exhibit is, Mr. Berthold's resolution that y'all gonna grant him tonight. And the other exhibit is, Harry L. Laws Incorporated exhibit authorizing Drew Mason to sign an agreement. So the only other exhibit is, a diagram of
okay.
the path of the,
So,
ditch.
I remember we had discussed this, been months ago or something, because I remember Ms. Naomi was questioning about extra water going into the Cooley Canal or something.
and then that was our concern.
Yeah, but the 40-foot road required servitude, is that going along the street, that 40-foot?
It runs, that 40-foot runs parallel with, West St. Francis Street.
Do we
on
have
the south
that,
side.
do we have that, or is that a new thing we gotta dig?
That's what they give, that's what they agreed, when Sinclair sold the property, and they developed Bruley Oaks, I think is the name of it, Bruley Oaks. They had given that servitude, but it never was put in writing, and the work was never done. And so this is something we catching up from probably 10 or 12 years ago. And then I didn't wanna go and, cause we gotta take some of the cane out, maybe 1 or 2 rows of the cane, and I didn't wanna go and have to pay for cane and do all that stuff. I say, if it's a right of way, I want you to give it to me in writing, and I want to, I'm not gonna be responsible for the cane, but I want them to stake it out. And this is the final thing, they're waiting to go stake it out, and we can finally get this thing done.
Okay, do we have to go under the road?
No,
We don't.
there's already a cover under the road.
There's already one.
And-
We're just draining to that culvert?
Actually, it's an overflow. What they want is, they didn't want the water to go from the south draining north into the reservoir. And so what they gonna build a structure, they're gonna do that. They're gonna build a little structure, and only in high water, they'll take the water out of that reservoir, and some will flow south and some will flow north. You know,
Okay.
like it's, right now it's made to all flow north into the Tonton Canal.
And then we've been servicing this other canal that's going through that, a 50-foot, but we just never had it in writing to where it was ours.
Well, we got a much smaller ditch, you know, like right now, we probably got maybe a 2-foot bottom and, you know, like a 102, and they want like a 4-foot bottom with a 3-on-1 slopes.
Did we have a servitude agreement on that 2-foot one? I thought we didn't even have that. We just done it.
Some of that was roadside, and it's through the cane field now, and we do cut it, we do maintain it today. We do that.
Right. But we don't have it in writing that that's our servitude, is it?
No, but it's just.
But this will make it.
Yeah, this will be.
Okay. All right, Mr. Kershaw?
All right, this is not in my district, but this abuts up to my district, and I know Ms. Naomi, who's not here, she was concerned about this too. So, Pee Wee, this is going to go from east to west, down West St. Francis, and then turn and go south toward Addis, right? And it's 1,658 feet off of South LeBeau, so that's pretty almost where that Clubhouse Drive is, where this thing shows. I mean, so that's way up there. So it's almost in the middle of that field.
It is in the middle of that field.
Okay.
You know where the loading site is right now
Yeah.
on West St.
Yeah.
Francis Street?
Yeah.
We can dig up to the loading site, and then the ditch heads south after that.
Okay. And that, what comes out from the detention pond, I know you hate when I say that, but it's a detention pond. But right now, I heard, I don't know this, but I heard that they had concreted in those culverts so no water could come from the field into the detention pond. So they're gonna rectify all that?
Yes.
Okay.
What happened is the town of Brewley stopped up those covers, because they didn't want any water south of West St. Francis Street going into the pond.
Right.
And so, town of Brewley stopped them up. So what this is gonna do, the developer, Rick Spiller, he's actually gonna build a box to where that water can't come in, you know, it won't go south, but if the water gets to a certain level, it would flow south, you know. in
But
other-
only a small portion will,
Yeah, just the top, almost like an overflow, like a spillway, and then it would.
like Phil says, it's a weir system, right?
And
Okay,
actually, what we're gonna do in the field is the ditch is gonna be much wider, and so the capacity of it can be much greater, and so it'll act as detention, retention, whatever, you know, going south, you know, it's gonna give us more capacity for the water.
okay. So this should make the drainage better.
I didn't agree with them about putting that, they wanted a 5-foot cover, you know, on a Cooley Canal, and I didn't want a lot of water going to the Cooley Canal, so we're then making that structure kind of like an overflow structure, if you will, on the south end of that pond. And we say you only have to have a little bit of overflow water that would actually go south. But, they were more concerned about anything going north.
Right.
And so,
But you believe this will make drainage better?
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, to make the drainage better right now, we don't have any problem with it. And I think this is probably an overkill, to be totally honest with you, but this is what they are required before they allow this developer to make those other little townhomes or whatever they're doing, or that property they have left behind the little farmer shop. So they making this guy take care of this stuff.
Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I got a motion by Chris Kershaw, seconded by Barry Huggins to approve the resolution. Seeing no questions, the machine is open to vote for approval. Motion passes. Introduction of ordinances, we have none. Consider subdivision plats, condemnations, waivers, matters related thereto. I don't see Mr. Danny here, so we must be in good shape. Alcohol permits, Bayou Country Sportsman LLC, Spillway Sportsman located at 1920 American Way, Suite A, Port Allen, applying for Class AR permit.
Yes, so this is Spillway Sportsman. They already hold a packaged liquor permit, but they put in video poker machines, so in lieu of that, they are getting a alcohol restaurant permit.
Oh, so they can drink while they play in the
There
machine.
you go, there you go.
I think the
They have the
law,
option.
The law requires, yeah.
Hey, I mean, I wouldn't go in there and play no machine if I couldn't drink. So. Mr. Porto, got the floor.
I spoke to Ricky on my way here tonight, and Ricky has talked this over several times with the owners of the Spillway Sportsman, and Ricky sees it as a good thing. And he said that if he was here tonight, he would approve of this. So I told him that I would do that for him, since he's not here. So I will make a motion to approve that.
We got a motion by Phil Porto, seconded by Charlene Garden to approve. Kirk Elaine.
I just had a question. So the new section, the restaurant area where you're gonna
Hold
have
up,
seats.
hold up.
Come on.
Just come to the microphone, state your name for the record.
That has really nothing to do with the voting. I just-
Scott Rail representing Bayou Country Sportsman, Spillway Sportsman. Yes, sir.
The seating area you're gonna have on the new section,
Yes, sir.
the seating area with that, you could be able to eat there.
Yes,
You'll
sir.
be able to drink there also.
Yes, sir.
Right.
That's correct.
So you'll be,
You-
when
you're
you order
not-
food, you'll be able to order a
According to
single
the
beer.
code, you're not allowed to buy from the
Store.
convenience side
Right.
and walk over to
Right.
the restaurant side. So you have to buy from the restaurant side. So we actually are having a permit issued strictly for the restaurant side so
Right, so
that
that's
you
what
can
I was-
buy alcohol there.
That's what I was, but at the restaurant side, you'll be able to go in and sit down and
That's
order
correct.
food, eat at the
That's
restaurant
correct.
side. All
All
right.
right.
I just
Any
wanted-
questions?
Just curious. I should have asked you before.
That's all right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kirk. Any other questions? Seeing none, the machine is open to vote for approval.
Another reason I had to go to Baton Rouge.
Motion passes. Item 15, appointments, Capital Area Human Services District Representative, recommendation for appointment. Ms. Michelle, you telling me?
Yes, sir. This item, Ms. Tody Milstead had sent in a request to be considered for, she was actually interested in serving, volunteering to serve on this board, so she asked that, the parish president, if he would put her name forward, and if you guys, I know we are looking for someone else on that board as a representative, so
Yes.
we have to actually make a recommendation to, the governor's office in order for them to get appointed to this board, so.
Yes,
she asked that
you
we
have all the
consider.
information for her stuff to send in, resumes, things like that. I am serving on that board. We're supposed to have 2 appointments. The other young lady, had asked to be taken off, so she resigned from it, so we were short 1. And, I'm sure glad that Tody is interested in serving on this. I think she'll do a wonderful job with it. And, I'm gonna ask Michelle to continue to asking around. We sent it to all the Addis, we've sent it to Brewley, we sent it to Port Allen, asking for anybody to be interested in this, because my time is getting short, and, I would probably be coming off, in the very near future. Matter of fact, I am term limited out over there also. I've been on the board over there too long now too. So we're gonna have to be looking for someone else, but it is something that's needed, and it is something that helps our community, so, thank you. We got a motion to approve, Tody Milstead name to go on, for the recommendation of Capital Area Human Services District Representative. Any others? Machine is open to vote for approval. Item 16, correspondence report, and item 17, Ms. Charlene Garden makes a motion to adjourn
Okay.
without Mr. Kershaw knowing.
But you have to let me read my correspondence first.
Go ahead.
Take them out of order, sir.
What
Okay.
correspondence we got?
2019 Hazardous Materials Collection Day has been set for Saturday, September 28th, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Alexander Park. Also, there is a Capital Region Solar Open House. If anybody is interested in seeing the new solar panel deal going on there. August 13th, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Your Region 3 meeting coming up Thursday, August 15th at 6 o'clock for any of you that signed up. Our next Board of Adjustments is August 20th at 5 o'clock. Next Planning and Zoning, August 20th at 5:30, and our next council meeting is August 22nd at 5:30.
And we're gonna request
And
from
we-
Michelle to go ahead and advertise that
The
we will
fire
have a
board
special
meeting
fire board meeting
Before that, okay.
at the 5:15, on the 22nd of August.
Got it.
You're gonna send out a reminder?
Yes, of course.
And now we have a motion to adjourn, and as they said, good luck to all of you that are running.
What was the first
Wish
one
you the
I
best
saw?
of luck.
Was what?
What was the first one?
Hazardous Materials Collection Day,
When is it?
September 28th, Saturday,
September?
September 28th.
Oh, we got
Yeah.
time to read that again.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, where?
That's,
Sir. Thank you.
Kevin, can I ask you a quick question?